Here we are. Welcome, everybody. Good morning. Welcome back to the OpenShift TV Coffee Break. For this session today, we have a special guest, but before introducing it, let me introduce all the staff here. My name is Natale Vinto. I'm Product Marketing Manager here at OpenShift. And hey, Jafar, Andrea, how are you?
Good morning,
Hello.
everyone. Fine, thank
It's
you.
my wonderful co-host here at OpenShift TV, and we have a super special guest, book author. Also, we're gonna talk about this awesome book that it was out from a few days. Welcome, Wanja.
Hello, welcome.
And so, first thing, Vanya is the correct pronunciation, right?
Yes, yeah.
That's right. Okay, Vanya, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. I'm Wanja Pernath. I'm working as a partner enablement manager for technical stuff on OpenShift from the development perspective at Red Hat.
Awesome. And the reason why we invited you, Vanya, is not only because you are cool and you do lots of stuff. We know you do lots of cool demos, workshops, but also because you are author of a book. And I think Andrea has a copy there.
I do
Andrea,
have a copy of the book.
Oh.
Here, Getting GitOps.
Very important, the monkey in there. Very important.
So for the monkey, I would like to say hello to the first. I would like to say hello to the chat. Welcome everybody. If you have any question, please send in the chat. We will answer it in the show. The topic of today is DevOps with OpenShift, and we take this opportunity to talk about also the book that Vanya wrote. And let me also share in the chat this link so the people can download for free, right, Vanya? This is a free ebook that will talk about GitOps. Do you want to do a little introduction on the context?
Yeah, I would like to. So it is about understanding and using GitOps, but it's not theoretical. So from my perspective, it was very important to have something like a practical guide, a practical blueprint, so to say, to your guide to GitOps, which means it's discussing a complete use case with a REST service based on Quarkus at the beginning. And then, of course, the REST service is using a database, and then you're going through, first of all, through the development of that REST service with Quarkus, and then down to the complete road until you are using Tekton to do your development pipeline, staging pipeline, and then at the end setting up Argo CD in order to make sure that you have something which is automatically deploying the complete environment which you're using.
How was it? How was it to write a book?
Well, at the beginning, I didn't want to write a book. This is quite interesting because the first thing I wanted to do is because I do all this in my day-to-day job when I'm enabling partners for Red Hat from a technical perspective. And the only thing I wanted to do at the beginning was just taking notes. So I'm talking a lot when I'm doing my enablement sessions. And so I needed something to have my notes, to prepare myself, for example, at the beginning. Well, and then I thought, after a session, I had so many questions coming from the audience, asking about, I'm overwhelmed with the news of OpenShift and Kubernetes, and then there are so many tools like Tekton and like Argo CD, and it's way too much. So I thought, it might make sense to start writing a blog entry about this, just a small one, yeah. So where I'm able to point my attendees after that, then to that blog entry, so that they are able to read it, right? And then it was 2 blog entries about this. Then I decided to have 3 because I also wanted to talk about customize and things like this and Helm charts, because this is also part of the CI/CD chain. And then I thought, if I'm doing all this, I also have to talk about Tekton pipelines. So I also wrote a complete article on this, and between the third or fourth and the fifth chapter or blog entry, my management came to me asking me, well, why are you not writing a book out of this? Stupid, they said. Well, he didn't
Stupid, they
say
said.
stupid. No, he didn't. But
You say that, right?
yeah, well, and then I got in touch with other people inside Reddit who were just writing a book. I think you were one of them, Natale. So I asked them, and they were so friendly. I wrote professionally with the editors at Red Hat. It was so nice, and I introduced GitOps with them. So at the beginning, so I did all my writing with Markdown, of course, because it's a technical book, so I can write Markdown. And the initial thing was to generate a Word document out of it, to send it to them. And then I got it back, which was completely red then, because all the mistakes I did and so on. And then I decided, well, no, this can't be. I don't want to export, import, and stuff like this. So I asked them if they understand to use Git, and they said, yeah, of course, I know Git because he's a technical writer as well, the editor. And then we decided to use the complete Git. So if you want to have a look at the Git repository of the complete book, with all the sources, you can find it publicly available on GitHub as well, under my account.
Oh, wow. So you did also GitOps
Yes, of
there.
course. It was interesting, I can tell you.
So did they ship the real copies with pipelines also, or how do?
No, unfortunately not. This is just by using Git as the central repository to write all the chapters and so on, and to get the changes back.
Yeah, I think it could be good if we at some point share the link. Is it like a public?
It's already shared. And look, this is the page, and Wanja was already sharing in the screen.
Yeah.
We put the link on the book, but now I think we have also the source code.
I mean for the GitHub
Right.
repo.
Yes. So this one is I share it here. I can't access the.
Right. Thanks.
Content.
We can share it.
Done.
Thank you very much.
Cool.
Yep.
So that's the source code of the book.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome.
So the process itself was an interesting one in
Yes,
creating the book and working with the other technical writers and editors collaboratively using it.
Very nice.
Very cool, Vanya. And you mentioned if you can go back to the cover of the book. So this is the landing page. We put the link in the chat. You can download it for free. It's an ebook, so you get a PDF. Just register for free at developer.com, which is the editor, the publisher. And look at this cover. You say the monkey. This design is from our awesome colleague Kalik. Shout out to Kalik. We made very nice graphic, and also the content is very cool. But Vanya, do you want to talk about the content? So the title of the show today was DevOps with OpenShift and Tekton and Argo CD. Can you explain us how do you compose your DevOps with OpenShift with those two open source project?
So it was the discussion was quite nice with all the internal people, and understanding getting the title of the book was also quite interesting. So at the beginning I wanted to have something like understanding GitOps or GitOps from scratch or something like this, but this was not necessarily what. So there were other voices who thought getting GitOps is way better for this. And one thing which is quite interesting is this monkey in the title, which you can see there, because I wanted to have a head-scratching monkey sitting in front of a jungle where you have signs saying, well, this is Tekton, go there, this is Argo CD, go there, this is Podman, go there, and so on. And then that you're having going to have a monkey which is like this. Okay, where should I go now, right? And at the beginning, so we had a discussion, so to say, on how to create the title, but Kalik, as you mentioned already, he created the monkey in there, and I'm so thankful for this because this is really important for me.
Nice. And I'm looking at this book's cover. Can you show the list of what are the topics of the book? I'm reading, for instance, beside basic Kubernetes, then there's a bit of OpenShift. Then we have Customize, Tekton, Argo CD, Helm. So there are lots of cool tools, right?
Yes, they are. Because it's nature when you are when you would like to set up a new project or would like to reuse an existing project, then you will be thinking about how to first of all, how to do CI/CD with with your new project. So would you like to still use Jenkins? Would you like to use Tekton for this? Would you like to use whatever, anything else out there? So I was thinking about answering some questions and giving a demo on how to use this naturally. Then also when you're thinking about distribution of your application, so for example, if you're selling your app to your customers or something like this, so how are you able to distribute or to sell your application at the end? Then of course you need something like Helm or operators or something like this, just to make sure that your customer is able to download and install the application which you've provided to them. So I'm also discussing the differences between Helm charts and operators and when to use which and what. And of course, every chapter of the book, every topic has also a practical example of this. And all those examples, by the way, can also be found publicly here on GitHub. So just have a look at the book example repository where you can find more or less everything. And we are starting with so when you are new with OpenShift and you are using, for example, the source to image environment in there to build your application inside OpenShift, so then the next question is, okay, now I have my development environment. So how can I go over to the test environment so that I can stage my development, for example? For this, I was thinking about, either we are just exporting the deployment, the image stream, and blah, 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 blah. Or we are going to use OpenShift templates for this. So I'm discussing also templates and also thinking about when to use templates. So if you're in a mixed environment, you can't use templates because OpenShift templates are unfortunately OpenShift specific. So you can't just use OpenShift templates for this. So there must be something else. And this was then Customize. Yeah, Customize, in my opinion, is one of the core technologies when you are thinking about CI/CD with in that Kubernetes environment. So I have a complete chapter of writing customization files and customization things in order to make sure that you're able to deploy your application from scratch at the end. And then, of course, then the distribution thing. Yeah, thank you, exactly. Then the distribution stuff is, if I would like to make my application publicly available, then I need Helm, I need Kubernetes operators and things. And then, of course, I'm digging into CI/CD, using Tekton for this. And the final part is then, if I already have everything, if I'm using Customize, if I'm having all my files or the metadata files which I have for my application already available in a Git repository. So wouldn't it make sense to have a tool in between my Git repository on the one side and the Kubernetes or OpenShift cluster on the other side? And this is then naturally, of course, Argo CD, which is watching on one side and is deploying all the changes back to Kubernetes or OpenShift in this case. So this is all the way down, so to say.
So in a sense, you analyzed various options, but you also in the end provided a recipe starting from scratch to do DevOps, GitOps, from the beginning to the end. Obviously, you took an example of an application, you chose Quarkus, but that is applicable to many other cases.
Exactly, yeah. So the book example repository could easily be used as a blueprint for this. Of course, if you have a larger application landscape, not just one microservice which is connected to a Postgres database or so, then you need to think differently from time to time. But for each of those microservices which have one or many relationships to external tools like a Postgres database, like SSO, Keycloak, whatever, then you could easily use this as a blueprint. You can go through the complete example, and at the end you have pipelines, you have the basic understanding of using Argo CD with this, and you are able to easily deploy your complete environment. So yes.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And I'm sure, I'm sure the audience will also would like to see some of those examples. But before that, Vani, I have a question. I see you mentioned also OpenShift templates in the book. Do you think that the templates can be partially at least substituted by Helm charts, or do you think they are still relevant from the DevOps story, at least in OpenShift?
At least, so from an OpenShift perspective, I personally would use templates not for doing CI/CD or pipelining things. I personally would use OpenShift templates for setting up samples for my junior developers, for example. So when you are when you are going to create a new application, for example, then most of the steps are always the same. So you need to find the baseline for something, you need to connect it to a database or to an SSO thingy or whatever, and all that can easily be created as an OpenShift template. So like all the examples which are available inside OpenShift by default can also be used as from an template perspective. So the nice thing is templates are integrated into the UI of OpenShift. So which means any developer is able to easily use that template. There's a description, there's an icon, there is a list of properties which you need to define or to change, of course. And then you can easily start from scratch a new application. So I would say if you're an architect or a senior developer and you would like to create some templates for your junior developers, I would use those ones.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. It's still valid, to create some resources from the web console. Web console that I know from Jafar, it's very customizable, right? Jafar, you're working on a set of plugins in the web console. Do you want to say something about it? We cannot hear you.
Oh, sorry, I was on. Yeah. So that's actually a very cool feature that we added recently on the OpenShift 4.10. It's something that we wanted to have for a while, which is the ability to add your own pages to the OpenShift console, so you can provide a very customized experience, and also maybe bring data from other tools into the OpenShift console. So I'm actually going to have a show on it this afternoon.
Oh, with Ask an Admin?
It's on the Level Up Hour this afternoon at 3 p.m. CET. And it's basically, we call that the console dynamic plugins, and it allows you to write your own plugin in React. So we do provide all the framework, and you can then have your own things appear in the console. So for example, what you mentioned about the templates, you could also create your own experience, like if you have a developer workflow that you want to have for your as a routine to onboard new developers. You can also create like a 3 steps or 4 steps wizard that will be really customized for your developers, and it can use under the hood whatever you want, like templates or Helm charts or something like that. And that's actually one of the plugins that I'll be working on, is basically how to have a simple steps wizard, but something very customized depending on what you want to do. So yeah, I do agree. The templates are still something to kick off the experience with the people that are not very familiar with the platform. Whereas with Helm charts, you can do a little bit more sophisticated things, and they are probably a bit more adapted to a CI/CD pipeline because of everything you can do with injecting the values and having the customized things, etc.
Right, more dynamic, where
Yeah,
templates are more static. Yeah, that makes
they, they,
sense.
they offer a little bit more flexibility, I would say.
That cool. Well, it looks, Andrea, it looks a very cool day for OpenShift TV. We have Vanya today
Nice.
talking about getting GitOps. Then we have Jafar at the Level Up Hour doing this live demo of customizable web console. So stay tuned on OpenShift TV. But still, Vanya, today we're here for DevOps with OpenShift. And can you please show us the code, as we say here? Can you do some live demos to us, please? We would like to see that in action.
Yes, of course. So if you would like to share the screen, thank you so much. So what you can see here right now is nothing. So all the default projects. So it's not has nothing to do with what I'm going to show you right now. So I need to provision my demo environment now. And by the way, this OpenShift is running on my single node OpenShift cluster, running on an, in German you would say Brüllwürfel. So it's called very.
How do you see that?
Brüllwürfel.
Can you write it? We want to see it written down, and we share in the chat.
Just a second. Let me go to the chat. It's called Brüllwürfel because this is very small Intel NOC environment, and it's quite loud. But yeah, it's nice. So it has 48 gig of RAM and something like this. So it's really nice. But anyway, so that's my OpenShift single node running on. So now let's install my CI environment first. So let me go to this one. So this is coming from my example. So just download or clone the book example repository. And then you see here in the GitOps repository, you can see Argo CD and Tekton. So one thing I'm doing first is I would like to install my Tekton environment. So I do an OC apply -k because those folders are customized. So this. So now all the tasks I'm using are being installed. All the book CI environment is being installed. Persistent volumes and blah, 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 blah. Everything is being installed now. And you can see it basically here. So if you go to the book CI application now, you can see, first of all, the Nexus environment, of course, is being installed as well because it's a Java application. And when you're building it on OpenShift, you need to, well, find a way to store not the complete internet, but parts of it, right?
Mhm.
It's Maven-based.
Half of the internet.
Half of the internet, yeah, you know that. So now, of course, we have two pipelines being installed here, the dev pipeline, the stage pipeline. Just have a look at how those two are looking like. So the dev pipeline is cloning the source code, so the book example repository. Clone config is the person service config repository which being deployed. So this is the GitOps repository, so to say. Where this one is very important. So we have everything what we need in order to install our application on a new namespace is stored here. So this is one thing. And then, of course, we are packaging the application, we are building the image, we are pushing the image to a Quay registry, Quay.io in this case. It could be any registry, of course, but I'm using public Quay because, well, I use it. I'm used to it. Then we are extracting the digits coming from the build of the image, and we are updating the Git config repository with that image digest. Yeah. So when we are going back to person service config, we are changing the overlay dev environment. So this is the difference between the base and the dev environment. For example, in this case here in the customization YAML file, you will see the new image digest of the current build you're going to see here. So
that's the point. Sorry to interrupt. That's the point of contact from the CI world with Tekton to the CD world with Argo CD, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead. But I'll have a question just afterwards.
Oh, okay. So the different. So we are used to have a pipeline which is doing everything. So we have a pipeline which is downloading everything, which is building everything, and then which is deploying everything at the end. This is the way how we are used to do CI/CD at the end. And GitOps is a little bit different. At GitOps, you have to think about who is responsible for deploying the actual application at the end. And in my opinion, this is Argo CD when we are thinking about this, because we have everything what we need is stored in Git. So when Argo CD is going over this, it is reading everything from Git, is merging the config, and is deploying it in a new namespace. So I'm not actively deploying anything with the Tekton pipeline in this case, but I'm just instructing Git to update the image digest in this case. And then Argo CD is taking care of everything else. Yeah. So you had a question, Jafar?
Yeah, sure. So can you please go back to the screen that you were just showing here, and maybe show? Yeah, can you show the last commit change where it says updated the image digest?
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just so we so we see exactly like what, because I think this is very important. If you can show like the last commit, or okay, so that's basically you are going to create the new so is this based so do you have, for example, a track to the commit ID or something like that, or is it just like the latest tag of the image that has been created?
This is just the latest type of the image which has been created. So when the build pipeline is building the image and is using the image ID or the image digest, so to say, to update the customization YAML file in GitHub.
Right. Okay. Talking about Tekton, I guess, Wanja, this is a Tekton task that has a step where you basically extract from the result of the previous Tekton task the hash of the container image, and then you use customize to update the file, right?
Okay. Exactly.
Yeah, very nice. And so, yeah, thanks. So it might seem too detailed, but I think this is a key point, because that's actually what makes it work. It's like I have something, a sort of template, and then whenever you change that value in that specific repo, it's going to trigger the deployment by Argo CD, or what we call the synchronization loop. And something else, I don't know if you mentioned it, but you basically have two repos. You have one for the application source code, and then you have another one for the Git config that is used by the GitOps tool, Argo CD. And this is basically a common approach nowadays, is basically you separate the code.
Yeah.
So you don't have a pipeline that gets triggered whenever you make like a code change, unless you want to have something. You are going to trigger the deployment. The deployment of the application gets triggered when you make the change in the config repo, and not in the application repo necessarily.
Exactly. Yeah. So so right now, just the CI environment is set up for this. So it does nothing. So what I'm not doing right now, but this is just because I have my OpenShift cluster running inside my own network. So I do not have a trigger. So
okay.
yeah. I've tested this and it works when I'm using not OpenShift inside my own network, but somewhere on Amazon or something like this. But for this environment, and because I'm living in an area where good network is sometimes some kind of luck, so I'm trying to use everything internally. Yeah. So this is the only thing I can't show, but it works.
Okay, yeah. I mean, but it's just the principle is that you make a commit to the application code, it's going to trigger the CI pipeline, and then that same pipeline will update the Git config repository, which will in turn trigger the Argo CD to deploy the application to whatever environment.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so one thing more I need to do in order to set up the Tekton environment now, or the CI environment, is I've created a bash script which is also creating some service account. So if Tekton is when Tekton is starting to build something, it runs always in a security context of a service account. And because the build pipeline also makes use of Docker push, so writing to a Docker repository, Quay in my case, and it is also writing to the GitHub repository, I need to provide somehow all the the credentials to those two.
The secrets. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is done by this. By the way, they are two. There are two passwords in this, but I'm always frequently changing them, so you can copy paste this if you want. But yeah, well, you shouldn't.
Just after the show, they're gonna change.
Yeah, exactly. I have to, I think. So this script is, as mentioned, this is just doing the same what I did with OC apply -k already, but it is also creating the service account. It's creating two secrets. One to access the Docker repository, the Quay.io, and one to create the secret for the for GitHub in this case. Now, so now everything is in here. So the next thing I need to create is the Argo CD environment. So if I go back to OpenShift, having a look at the Argo CD environment here, you can see there is nothing right now. So this is Argo CD, which is coming with the OpenShift GitOps operator, which you can install in there. But then, of course, you need to create applications, which are then the mapping between the Git repository and the Kubernetes instance, OpenShift in this case. So I haven't created anything right now, but I do this right now. So let's go back. Again, I do an OC apply -k on my Argo CD folder. So now it's creating two namespaces, book dev and book stage, and it's creating two role bindings for the Argo CD application reconciler, so the service account in there, so that this service account is allowed to write and update book dev and book stage. Yeah, and then of course it's creating the two Argo CD applications, book dev and book stage. So let's have a look back here. Now those are created in Argo CD. We have book dev, which, as you can see here, somewhere are details.
Vanya, so sorry, just this one question about the role binding. So is it a role that you have created that allows like write access to the namespaces, or is it a default role that you have reused?
There is a role. So the Argo CD user, so the internal user of Argo CD, that needs to have added access to those two namespaces.
Yeah.
And this is what I did here.
Okay.
Yeah. So now you can see that the book dev application is already synced successfully with my OpenShift environment. And the same is also true with the book stage environment. So it is all already done, and you can see the synchronization was done. There is also, there is no problem as I can see. So let's go back to OpenShift here, have a look at the topology view of the book dev program namespace. And you can see we now have the person service here. We have a database, which is, by the way, based on the crunchy data Postgres operator, blah, blah, blah. Both are connected to each other already. And if everything has worked correctly, we can see it now, we should have the person service, which already have content in the database, because Argo CD also has has a hooking mechanism. So when you are deploying a new application, you can create a hook, which, for example, is being called after the synchronization happens. And I used that after synchronization hook to fill the database with some life. Yeah. So we have 4 entries in there, 4 singers.
And since this is a live demo, Wanja, can you share the link in the chat so we can share to the chat your URL so the people can see it? It's really live. It's in your cluster, but it's really up and running.
Cluster, yes. Otherwise, it would work, of course, but it's my internal cluster running on.
Okay.
Yeah. So that doesn't work, unfortunately. But yes, it's live.
So this is just a PowerPoint, right?
Huh? Sorry?
No, just kidding.
It's not PowerPoint.
Nice.
Yeah. So can you show a bit more about the hook that you are using? Because I think that's an interesting thing.
Just a second.
Does it run only the first time, or does it run whenever there's a sync? So just to
it runs always.
Okay.
So every time there's a sync, it is going to run.
Okay.
But just a second, that was the wrong one. This one, sorry. It has a check in there. So if you have a look at this here, so see, this is the post sync.
Okay.
Let's make it a little bit bigger for you. Yes, okay, that's better. So it's a post sync hook, which is just nothing more than a typical Kubernetes job in this case, but it could be anything. Yeah. So when you want, for example, you could also use a Tekton pipeline, which is being executed as a post sync hook. Yeah. So that would all work.
Mm-hmm.
So what is this thing doing? It's it's taking the service URL, which is the internal URL, and it's first of all it's checking if there are already some persons in the database. If no, then we are going to fill some data into the database, and if yes, then it's going to be ignored. That's all here.
Nice.
That's pretty cool and very useful, Wanja, if I can, when you work with databases. If you think about the pre-sync, now we're seeing the post-sync, but the pre-sync, can be some database schema upgrade, something like that. And the post-sync is something like you show that. So it's very important to also put those kind of mechanisms like hooks. We put in the chat the link to the documentation, Argo CD documentation on hooks, if you like to check out. But this is a real example on how it works on a real use case, right? Application, database, and also IGA available database, since you're using the operator, right? It's kind of I see a stateful set and there are multiple pods. So it's a production grade like something use case.
Somehow, yes, exactly. So yeah, you saw this is the person service. It's really a real REST CRUD service. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it has implemented, I think I implemented all the methods which are necessary. So creating a new person, updating that person, deleting a person, and so on. So it's a real REST service, and it is connected to that database over there. So if you are interested in how I'm provisioning the database, this is this one, Postgres YAML. And yeah, it's coming from an operator, which is the crunchy data operator I'm using here. And the nice thing is that I'm installing the database just as on a declarative way. As I install my application declaratively, I'm also installing the database declaratively, and this is quite nice. Yeah. So this is everything I need in order to deploy the database, and the rest is being done integrally behind the scenes by the corresponding operator. There are several operators out there, but from my own youth, when I still was blonde and not gray, I'm used to do Postgres stuff and Oracle, of course, but Postgres stuff. So I was using Postgres for that environment here. And by the way, so when you want to build the environment now, so we have now person service 1.6.0, whatever, based on Quarkus something. So I'm now changing this a little bit. So let's go here. Let's go to the index HTML file, which you can find here, and then just change it. But you can, of course, do any change. Yeah. So this is just a something that you are able to see that there has something been changed.
Right? This is a non-breaking change.
This is a non-breaking change, exactly, because as you might know, when you're working with customers and you're doing breaking changes and you do not have any pipelines because your customer is sitting behind your back with a verbal gun in his hand, thinking about fix this now, right? Then you know that
I've been there.
Exactly. So now I'm committing my changes. So let's have a look what has changed. I just have changed the index HTML file. So let's do a git commit now. Bumped version or whatever. Now I do a git push, and then of course I need to start the pipeline. This is also something which I do with my script, which is part of that book example repository. Why I use script here, I can show you this in a second, because easily I'm using the so it's in the context of the service account again, what I'm going to do here is that that this is executing the build pipeline, in the context of that service account I was creating. And unfortunately, right now, the UI of OpenShift doesn't support using or changing the service account. At least not when I was starting all the demos and stuff like this. So maybe it has changed now. So now let's go to the book CI environment where my pipelines are.
So yeah, normally it chooses the pipeline service account, right? By default.
Exactly. It's the but I've chosen to create my own service account just because, well, to show that it's working, right? And then you have to deal with the other challenges, so that I'm not able to say, well, just start the pipeline here or do whatever. But anyway, in a real environment, I would say that you would not use start pipeline here, but you would also execute it in a different way. So now we have the pipeline run here, which is doing exactly what I described already. So we are cloning the source, we are cloning the config, we are packaging everything. We are building the image now. And by the way, I'm a lazy guy. So instead of using a Docker file behind the scenes here, I'm using what Quarkus provides us. So I'm using the GIP container image builder, and this makes the complete setup of the pipeline so easy. So this is a Maven task, and this is a Maven task. Yeah. So this is what I like quite a lot. It's already done.
And you extract from the output. I think this is important. If you can share if you can show us the source code, the YAML file of the pipeline. How do you extract from the output of the Quarkus build and push, how do you
digest.
extract the hash of the container image and giving parameter to the next task? This is also cool to see. If you can show us the Tekton part.
Yeah, this is the Tekton part here right now. So what I'm doing is, so extract digest is not doing anything else than taking the gip-image.digest file, which was built during or created
Right.
during build time. And then I am taking the content of that file and put it into the Tekton task results digest variable.
So basically, you are creating a file with the digest, and then you are sending into result. Result is the way Tekton used to to print to give an output result that you can use also in input. So this is the powerful thing, no?
Exactly.
Yeah. So how do you use it in the next step?
So this would be the next step, I think. Yep. So here I'm doing, I'm using update digest, which is using the customize tool to say edit set image. And then we are using the current, wait, where is it? Here, Params new digest. And the digest is coming. Now I need to go to the pipeline, of course, the dev pipeline, and the digest is coming. Just let me check here. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it?
Here.
It's over new digest, so it's here.
Here we go.
Yeah, exactly. Can you see it? Yeah, you can. So this is also automatically being extracted from this. So the parameter or providing parameters, input-output variables from one task to the other in a pipeline, this is quite nice.
Indeed, indeed. And this is in the source code, right? We put in the caption. Everyone can also look at the whole source code in your repository that we put here.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's everything in there.
Yeah, that's very nice. And I think in the image digest is something in the Quarkus properties or something like that, if I'm not correct.
Yeah, so when you're using GIP container build, the Quarkus extension, when you use this, then when you're pushing the image to external registry, then that file is being created. So GIP image.digest, I think, is the name, right?
I have a question, Wanja. I know, GIP, and there's another tool called JCube that can do the same thing and also use GIP. I know GIP is using kind of a distroless container image. No, the container image would be not something like from from Fedora, from CentOS. It's going to be kind of distroless. I'm wondering if you can also control the layers, like if you want to start from a certain, let's say Fedora, can you still do with GIP? Do you know if that is possible?
It is, yeah. So This is all done within Quarkus. So if you want to have a different base image to build your image from, then just have a look at the Quarkus container image. So there's a guide on the Quarkus.io website where you are able to see, okay, this is the way how I'm able to do it.
Wonderful, wonderful. This so yeah, if you are using Quarkus, this is very lightweighted. No, you don't need to use any kind of a Docker build or container build in the node. It can be just Quarkus. Mm-hmm. In general, the agnostic way would be, using, in our case, Builda, because it's Dockerless, daemonless, but you can use also Docker build if you have that multiple way, but this is very, very cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So I just wanted to make sure that that everybody is able to understand that demo, right? So this is the reason I'm using GIP for this, and because it's so easy to create your pipeline, then because it's, as mentioned, just another Maven goal which you're calling, and that's it. So yeah, everything should already be updated, which means if I'm now going back to the dev book dev environment, okay, well, everything is already updated. So if I now reload you see, cool, yes, wow, everything is done. So our new application is up and running. And of course, in a staging environment, we still have the old one. So if I go back to staging, if I open this one, then of course we still have, no, that's wrong. That's the book dev. This is stage. So this one, it's still 1.6. And now I would like to create, to use the staging pipeline. And again, for this, I again did something based on that Tekton pipeline.
This part is can be a bit tricky. So yeah, let's see how we do it, and maybe we can have a conversation on different ways this can be achieved, especially with Tekton.
Okay. So I'm creating a release now. Yeah. So I'm calling the pipeline script with stage, which is and with the parameter whatever version 1. What did I say? 0.0 TV. Yeah. And now that is starting the Tekton pipeline. So if I go back to OpenShift now into the CI environment, pipelines, you can see that now the staging pipeline is running, and that staging pipeline is doing the following stuff. So first of all, it's cloning the config, so the person service config repository. Then we are creating a branch in this person service config repository. And again, we are now extracting the digits, but this time the digits is coming from the development config. Yeah, so I would like to use the current state of the development environment. I would like to use it in my for staging this. Yeah, of course you could also do something like use that digits, for example, in order to do this. But in my opinion, or in my case, I was just using use the current state, the current development environment to stage this. So this is one thing. Then we are taking the image using Scopeo on Quay.io. So if I go to my personal Quay.io environment, oops, wrong. If I
Scopeo is a tool to copy container images, right? Instead of doing kind of a Docker pull or Podman pull and Podman push, Docker push, you can use Scopeo to copy and push directly.
Exactly. So Scopeo now has used the digits of the last build to create a tag, which is called 1.7.0/-TV. And this should also have, or should reflect my GitHub repository environment here. So you can see that there is a new release branch with that tag I've created. And of course, right now, nothing has happened with Argo CD because Argo CD is watching, in this case, on the main branch. So of course, in a real environment, you wouldn't use the main branch for this, but the staging branch or something like this, and then the production branch. Okay, so this is, but in this case, it's the main branch we are using here. So if we go back to here to the staging environment, and to the book stage, you can see here right now there has nothing changed. So if we are refreshing this, synchronization is still like the same. So it's still 1.6.0 live, as you can see here quickly. So what we need to do now is, of course, in a real environment, you would have a DevOps engineer or an architect or whatever, somebody, and that somebody is now going to Git saying, well, let's compare what was changed now. We are creating a pull request now. Creating the pull request could also be automated, but and there is a GH tool available which you could use for this to directly interact with the GitHub or GitLab APIs. But I haven't used this so far. But maybe in a later release, I will do this.
Yeah, I think we also provide cluster tasks for that.
Cool.
And stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah, and here you can see now that there is a change, and this is exactly what has changed. And this is, again, this is something what is really important for the GitOps paradigm, that you always know what is live and what has changed from the older versions. Yeah. So now I can exactly see what has changed. The red one was the old version, and the green one is now the new version. So, and if I now, of course, go back to that one, I say, well, seems I'm able to merge it. So I'm going to merge my pull request. I confirm the merge. And now that it is merged, we are able to go back to the not topology view, but to this one. And it takes 1 to 2 minutes roundabout until Argo CD is picking that change up. So I'm shortening this a little bit. So I click on refresh, and you see, whoa, there was a change now. Please, let's go back to do a git clone, and now let's publish the changes on the staging environment. And if we go back to the staging environment, which is this one, after a while, you see, yay, my very important changes, last minute bug fix is now up and running. Yeah. So this is at the end it. So there's nothing special in between, but just that Tekton is doing the build, is doing the staging, and then you can also do this exactly more or less the same with a prod pipeline or a pre-prod pipeline or something like this, yeah, just use a different branch name or whatever. But this is completely up to how you are defining this. And yeah, and Argo CD is the guy in the middle, which is doing the actual CD part, the deployment part.
And this CD part, Wanja, could be also multi-cluster, right? You can have one Argo controlling multiple cluster, or one Argo per cluster. That's powerful. In that case, if we have multiple cluster, how do you see this structure? Will you have the central hub, Argo CD, pushing to multiple cluster? Is it still valid, this architecture you show us?
Yeah, so I can't show it because I just have one Intel NOC system. Right. Yeah, so this would be exactly the same. Instead of using, just a second, let's go here. Instead of using in cluster, I hope you can see it.
Yeah.
This URL, you're using a different URL. Yeah, so where your production or testing OpenShift cluster or Kubernetes cluster or whatever is residing, and then instead of using this one, you're using that other one, and Argo CD is taking care of the deployment.
Cool, pretty cool. Well, Wanja, wow, that was great, and you can see, the people can see it's live because we share in the chat the repository that you were using, so you can see the pull request you made, the merge that was all live, and it's impressive, amazing. So what is the next step? Of course, downloading the book, because you find all those examples there, right? Maybe, Andrea, we can share again the link to the book so the people can see it. So yeah, really our suggestion is to download the book and to find this example and also more content. I've seen in the list there was a part about Tekton security, no? I think there's more.
Yeah, so I'm talking briefly about Tekton security too. So especially in the context of, okay, how can I provide my security credentials to GitHub, to Quay.io, for example. So this is what I'm going to discuss in there, so really briefly. If you need more, then there's a very good, so the documentation of Tekton is very, very good.
Well, fantastic. Do you have any final question, Andrea, Jafar, before we close up?
had one stupid question actually, and I didn't want to disturb the flow. We've been seeing the animation of the pipelines on the UI. Does Tekton provide that, or is that provided by OpenShift?
This is
OpenShift
Tekton.
pipelines.
This is
So upstream Tekton will already have a UI.
no.
Okay.
No. Sorry, you are absolutely right. Upstream Tekton, I think, has a dashboard UI, but that I'm not sure. I've never used or have had a look at the dashboard of Tekton. But when you're using the OpenShift pipeline operator, which you can see, or
sorry, let's reshare your screen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, which you can see here. So OpenShift pipelines. This one provides an OpenShift Developer Console integration, and this is exactly what you see. So when I'm going back to my book CI environment here and having a look at the developer view, the pipelines, then you see this one is completely coming from the OpenShift pipelines operator.
Yeah, so I believe the Tekton dashboard, like the upstream one, shows you like the tasks and the logs or execution results and stuff like that, but it doesn't give you this this visual graph. And the other thing is the editor. Like if you click on the pipeline itself and then you go to edit.
Yeah, just a second. Dev pipeline.
Yeah, actions edit. That's one of the great values you get in here is that you are able to use the tasks that you already have in there and visually create your pipeline, which is, I mean, very, very useful because pipelines in Tekton can tend to become very lengthy and, hundreds of lines of YAML files.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Very useful.
I would also suggest that when you're starting with Tekton, that you use the OpenShift pipelines editor for this. So just design your pipeline as you can see it here, and then you can always easily go to the YAML view and, for example, just take that file and then store it locally within your project, for example.
Yep.
So exactly, because you can see it here, it is a little bit lengthy, and honestly, who said that YAML is a great configuration technology? I can't understand this. Okay, well, the difference between YAML and XML is also, so XML is also quite lengthy, and but YAML, where spaces are part of the syntax, I like it.
We're getting into religion battle over here, right?
Yeah,
YAML, XML, JSON. I'm sure that somebody is for JSON.
JSON is also a different beast.
That's an interesting one, but I think it's very cool what we've seen. And Vanja, if the people want to try stuff with reading the book, I think they can download Code Ready Containers, which is a local instance of OpenShift for free that you can download in your workstation. Start an OpenShift locally and start using Tekton, Argo CD, and OpenShift, and do the same example you did it today with the nice pipeline UI builder and all the stuff, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Everything.
Fantastic. We put the link in the chat. Please download Code Ready Containers to try it out. If you have any OpenShift, just download the book, read the book, and send feedback to Vanja. Follow Vanja on Twitter. We have your Twitter handle, Vanja. I already shared in the chat. Oh yeah, here we go. I already shared it in the chat.
Thank you, Vanja.
Thank you very much. And we close up, folks. Thank you, Vanja, for this really awesome live demo. Let's close up. Today, OpenShift TV, we have Level Up Hour. We have Jafar doing the live demo, another live demo. Wow, super day. And talking about GitOps, we have the GitOps Guide to the Galaxy on April 21 by our GitOps extraordinary Christian Hernandez. Please, in April 21, the birthday of Rome, also nice day. And please come back here, the OpenShift TV coffee break, because we will come back next week, next Wednesday, with a session, Andrea, about CI/CD.
Yes. So next week we're still going to be talking about CI/CD, but this time we will be talking about CI/CD pipelines for AI, for AI-based applications that use Red Hat Open Data Science, and we'll have the one and only Max Murakami.
Fantastic, folks. Very amazing show. Thanks again, Vanja. Please download the Getting GitOps book from Red Hat Developer for free, and see you next Wednesday. Ciao.
Thank you, Vanja.
Oh, thank you
Bye-bye.
very much.